Discount founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prem Sri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar all glory to Sam. All glory to Sam. All glory to Sam. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's good.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, text number 31. Do we have devices? Ajata Sattu Kritamaitu Hitagnu.
Ajata Sattu Kritamaitu Hitagnu.
Vipranat Atila Gopumi Rukmai.
Vipranatvatela Gopumi Rukmai.
Griham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya.
Griham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya.
Nachapashat Pitharos Havalincha.
Nachapashat Sovalincha.
Ajata Satru Kritamaitu Putagni.
Ajata Satru Kritamaitru Agnir.
Vipran Tadvatila Gopumi Rukmai.
Vipranatvatila Gopumi Rukmai.
Griham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya.
Griham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya.
Tapashat Pitharos Havalincha.
Natapashat Pitharoso Valimcha.
Ajata Satru Kritamaitu Putagni.
Ajata Shatru Kritamaitru Agnir.
Vipranat Atila Gopumi Rukmai.
Vipranatvatila Gopumi Rukmai.
Griham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya.
Griham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya.
Tapashat Pitharos Havalincha.
Natapashat Pitharoso Valimcha. Ajatasatru Kritamaitra Hagner Ajatasatru Kritamaitra Hagner Pranavati Lagobhumi Rupmai Griham Pravishta Guru Vandanaya Guru Vandanaya Nachapasyat Hitaraso Balimcha Nachapasyat Hitaraso Balimcha Ajata Shatru Kritamaitro Hutagnir
Shatru Kritamaitra Hagner
Vipranatva Tela Gobhumi Rukmai Graham Pravishto Guru Vandanaya
Guru Vandanaya
Nachapasyat Pitaraso Bhalimcha
Ajata,
Ajata
never born.
Never born
Shatru, enemy. Krita, having performed. Maitra, worshipping the demigod.
Worshipping the demigods
Agni, and offering fuel in the fire.
and offering fuel in the fire.
Vipran,
The
Brahmanas. Natva, offering obeisances. Bhumi Rukmai,
Bhumi Rukmai,
along with grains, cows, land, and gold.
along with grains, cows, land, and gold.
Graham, within the palace. Pravishta, having entered into. Guru Vandanaya, for offering respect to the elderly members. Na, did not. Cha, also. Pasyat, see. Pitarao, his uncles. Sauvalim, Gandhari. Cha, also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Yudhisthira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Shubala. Purport. Maharaj Yudhisthira was the most pious king because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing, they should offer respects to the deities at home by prayers, by offering fuel in the sacred fire, by giving the Brahmanas in charity land, cows, grains, gold, etc., and at last offering to the elderly members due respects and obeisances. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bed, tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practice. As mentioned above, the household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards hell. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic person may take lessons from a sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. Maharaj Yudhisthira, however, could not find in the palace his two uncles, namely Dhritarashtra and Vidura, along with Gandhari, the daughter of King Shubal. He was anxious to see them and therefore asked Sanjay, the private secretary of Dhritarashtra. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Jnanjana Salakaya Chakshuru Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yet kripa taraham bande shigaram dinadaranam vanchikapatyascha kripa sindhu evacha chanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama. Here we're seeing more of the character of Maharaj Yudhisthira. He has an amazing personality. He never thought of anyone as an enemy, which is kind of hard to understand because he was there on the battlefield. He was also fighting, right? But he was doing his duty, as was the desire of Krishna, that the Pandavas rule. Of course, others thought of him as an enemy. And another amazing quality of Yudhisthira is that he never told a lie. Very honest. Famous as he who never told a lie, which doesn't say much for everybody else. One person is famous for never telling a lie. But then Krishna wanted him to lie. Because it was Dronacharya. He was fighting in such a powerful way that they were thinking he's gonna just him alone is gonna conquer all the Pandavas in their army. So Krishna told Yudhisthira, you go and tell him that Ashwatthama is dead, because he was gonna fight until he heard that his son died. But Yudhisthira, he hesitated. And because of that, up to that point, his chariot wasn't touching the ground. He was like a demigod. But as soon as he hesitated, his chariot crashed to the ground. Actually, he had to see it help too because of that. When God tells you to do something, you do it. So then he went and he said to Dronacharya, Ashwatthama, the elephant, his dad. But still he didn't lie. Because there was an elephant that had died named Ashwatthama. So such a honest person. Of course, in the age of Kali, this is the only thing that's still there a little bit. Still some truth is there somehow. So now here also he's showing such culture. He's going to offer respects to the elders. Now this elder that he's going to offer respects to, Dhritarashtra, tried to kill him and his brothers, but still he's his senior. So he goes and he offers every morning. He'll go and offer respects to Dhritarashtra. So yeah, amazing personality. If only we had such kings in the world now, it'd be a lot better place. Yes? Be a lot better place. Now we just have rogues, thieves, low class people, yavanas, lechas. So there's a word in here, pravishta. It reminds me of a famous verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Pravishta karandrena svanam bhavas noti sayalai. You know that verse? Pravishta karandrena svanam bhavas noti sayalai. That the literary incarnation of Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of the self-realized devotee. It sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship with Krishna, and there it cleanses it of all lust, anger, greed, all contamination. and it acts like autumnal rain upon muddy pools of water. Beautiful verse. This verse explains that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a literary incarnation of God. Now we hear that the incarnation in this age is also. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kalki is another one, yeah, so there's nothing. The holy name, Kalki, Lord Chaitanya, and Srimad Bhagavatam. We need special mercy in Kali Yuga. Generally, it's one incarnation, but in Kali Yuga, we need more. So, Pravishta Karna Rendrena, Swaram Kala. So, the literary incarnation enters into the heart of the self-realized devotee, cleanses. So, one might say, well, he's self-realized, but why is there lust and anger and greed and all that in there still? Someone may be self-realized, but still there may be some tinges of contamination. And Srimad Bhagavatam goes into the heart and cleanses it of all this contamination. And it's described, it acts like autumnal rain upon muddy pools of water. Beautiful example. Just like here on the sidewalk, there might be some hole in the sidewalk, and there's some dirt in there, right? And then it rains, and then it becomes muddy, right? And then it keeps on raining, and eventually the mud is removed, and you just have pure distilled water. So now we're in the material world, become a little muddy. Having come to this world, we become a little muddy. But by this hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, by this hearing of the holy name, by this chanting, associating all this, we're getting cleansed of the contamination. And this continuous cleansing eventually purifies us of contamination. Very nice example. But we have to do this regularly with patience and with determination. By this hearing and chanting, we're creating a path back to Godhead. There's a nice example given in the Srimad Bhagavatam of two villages. And there's family members living in the villages, these two villages. So therefore there's some going back and forth. And because of that, there's a beaten path, because they're going back and forth. But at one point, all the family members, they've moved to one village. And then there's no more beaten path. So what happens? Grass grows. And eventually you can't even see the path anymore. So if we hear and chant regularly with sincerity, then this path back to Krishna, it's a beaten path. It's a clear path back to Krishna. But if we become neglectful and we stop this hearing and chanting, then eventually also this path will be covered by different types of grass, material desires, and Mayavad. Even I know a couple of devotees, they became Buddhists after being devotees for years and years and years. Why? Because of not hearing, chanting regularly with sincerity, they become attracted. So we have to very carefully practice Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said this process is a no gap process. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anybody that's in the no gap program that in Vaisheshika Guru. It's like no space, right? He's just like full on, just hearing and chanting and getting everybody else to also hear and chant. Now they're learning all the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. It's amazing. Yeah. Just completely no gap. So that's the goal. If we want to go back to Krishna, we got no room for Maya. No gap means no room for Maya. Just Krishna, 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 Krishna.
Hey.
Hey! Yeah, this is Lord Chaitanya was going through Jharkhand forest. It's Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Raksamam. Krishna, 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 Bhakti-mam. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Gotta fill ourselves with Krishna. And Krishna will be pleased. And he'll reveal himself. It's not by academic qualification, it's by this sincere desire to serve Krishna that Krishna reveals himself. Man proposes and God disposes. So we have to try very hard to give this mercy to others and also help ourselves. And the more we do this, the more we'll get purified. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vita Bhaya Krodha Lakman Maya Ashata Bhavo Gyata Putamad Bhavamagata. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, many, many persons in the past have become purified by knowledge. So Krishna's kind of encouraging us here that many, many persons in the past have become purified by this process of hearing and chanting, being freed from attachment. One of the big problems in this world is that we're attached to things that we shouldn't be attached to. It's like when we were children, we used to play with little toys, little car toys, right? But then we got a little older, we became detached from these things. We got attached to more serious things like women and things like this. So, or bigger cars or things like this. But when we advance in spiritual life, then we'll become detached from the things of this world. We'll become detached from all the material things of this world, and we'll be attached to Krishna. We can't give up attachment. You got to be attached to something. We can't just be, as Prabhupada said, stone. We can't just be a stone. There has to be some attachment. But to be attached to Krishna, this is the perfection of attachment. And that's why we're doing all these things, to eventually become attached to Krishna. Vitaraga, being free from attachment, fear. Prabhupada said, my disciples, they have two diseases. One?
Not enough fear of mind.
Yeah, not enough fear of mind. And we like to change things. We should have a firm fear of Maya. Maya is so powerful. So powerful. So yeah, we have to pray to Krishna. It's like there's one pastime of Prabhupada. Prabhupada told one devotee that I cannot fall down. Prabhupada can be very grave. So then that day he saw Prabhupada praying to the deities fervently. And he had a nice relationship with Prabhupada. So later in the day he asked Prabhupada, I saw you praying fervently. What were you praying for? I was praying for protection from Maya. Everybody said, but Prabhupada, you said you can't fall into Maya. That's because I'm always praying for protection. So see, it's pure devotee. He didn't have to, but this is his humility. So what to speak of ourselves? And this is what Lord Krishna said to Uddhava. He said, this is how you should pray to me in the form of the deity. Please protect me, who am trying to surrender unto you. I am very fearful of this material existence, standing as I am in the mouth of death. Prapanam paimami shabitam mrityu. So here the deity, Krishna, is telling Uddhava how to pray to the deity. Please protect me, who am trying to surrender unto you. I'm very fearful of this material existence, standing as I am in the mouth of death. Powerful statement there. So this is how we should pray. We could die at any moment. People are saying now, so many devotees are leaving their bodies, getting elderly. And some devotees are also leaving their bodies that aren't elderly. We never know. I remember about 45 years ago, I was given a class in Miami, and we were all young, all the devotees were young. So in the early 20s, I said, we may live another 50 years, but what's 50 years? How many months is that? 600 months, right? But months are going by. Now we're in July. August is going to, months are going by quickly. It's 50 years is only 600 months. It's not that long. So now this is almost 50 years later after my saying that. So, and so time is going on, so we have to take this very seriously. We don't know when we're going to die also. But even that, we do live another 10, 20, 50 years. But we may not take those years seriously. We should take this time, this years seriously. Take very seriously to Krishna consciousness. Vitaraga Bhaya. Vitaraga Bhaya. And anger. These are the big contaminations in this world. They become very angry. There's anger in all of us. People become so angry. Just like I remember reading, there was one man, he had his child, and the child was screaming, maybe a 1-year-old child, and he shouts at the child, "Shut up!" And of course that made the child cry louder. He, "Shut up!" Finally, he took the child and just threw it against the wall, killed it. Anger, killed his own child. Many years in jail for that. But anger can be, it's like I meet people on Sankirtan sometimes. Yeah. Do you have anything that could help me overcome anger? You ever meet people like that? Yeah. People they just lose it. But yeah. Read this book, do some meditation. They're always good candidates for getting Prabhupada's books. Yeah. They're looking for some solution. Problems. So being free from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, many persons have become purified by knowledge of me. And if that's attained, I'll tell you an interesting story that happened in Miami. There was one lady, very nice lady. Her and her husband's a doctor, and they had a couple of children. Very, very devoted. They would come to the temple quite often, and chanting 16 rounds, and initiated. Very, very nice. So at one point, the lady, she got cancer. So devotees from the temple, we would go there maybe 2 or 3 times a week just to encourage her. We'd go there, we'd chant and read to her, and try to help her in her journey back to Krishna. So we were there one night, and it looked like she was going to leave her body that night. But we had to get back because we had services at the temple. But that night, her husband is sitting next to the bed, and she says to her husband, "Do you see him?" And he says, "Do I see him?" She said, "Krishna, he's standing right in front of me, and he's calling me. You're my husband. I have to ask you, should I go?" He said, "Yeah, go. She closed her eyes, left her body, went back home. What's happening? Devotees are going back home. So many devotees are leaving their bodies in Mayapur and Vrindavan and to go back to God. So there's hope. We can go back to God. Just take this very seriously. With sincerity. Prabhupada would use these two words quite often. Sincere. What does sincere mean? It means genuine. And Yavilasitas Jnana Kamadita. The devotional service means to engage in the service of Krishna without any desire to enjoy the fruits of one's activities and free of mental speculation. This was one of the problems with Dhritarashtra. He wanted to enjoy the kingdom. Same thing, Duryodhana, they wanted to enjoy the kingdom. But Yudhisthira wanted to serve Krishna. He didn't want to take that position of being an enjoyer of the kingdom. And this is why Krishna wanted him to be the king. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, karmanya vaharikarasti, but you're not entitled to enjoy the fruits. Like many times I speak to Indians on book distribution, they say, yeah, I know Bhagavad, karmanya vaharikarasti. This is the most common verse, isn't it? But they don't go to the second line. Yeah? You're not entitled to enjoy the fruits of your activities. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you're not entitled to enjoy the fruit. Never think yourself to be the cause of the result of your activity, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So sometimes they say, well, wait, now I'm doing all this work, I'm not entitled to enjoy the fruits because you try to enjoy. So I heard recently, Radha Shyam was telling us how this young student, he had gone to America. He was in Pune, and he was thinking, now I'm free of my family encumbrances, and now I can just enjoy it. So he gets a job. I forgot what city he was in. Making a lot of money, $5,000 a month. So he gets a letter from his father. Okay, it's good that you're in America, you're doing nicely. Now send 4,000 of that to me every month. And he's thinking, oh. And he's very, Indians are very duty bound to their parents. So he was doing it. Reluctantly, he was sending 4,000 every month to his father, and he was just getting by. So he was doing this every month for 5 years. And then his father said, no, okay, now you can come back to India, and we'll get you married. So he did that. And they had a wife for him. And after they got married, he gave his son all the money that his son had sent him. And his son was thinking, Father, how you were asking me for all that money. I was so upset that you were asking for all that money. But now you're giving it all back to me. Why? And he said, because you're in America, you have all that money. You're going to do all kinds of nonsense, drinking and doing who knows what. So I didn't want you to do that. So therefore, I took that away from you. Now I'm giving it back to you. Now you're a married man. You'll utilize it in a responsible way. And now you have a wife, and she's also going to make sure you don't spend it improperly. So he was so appreciative to his father for that. So Krishna also says like that, you don't have a right to enjoy the fruits. Give it to me, because if you use it for yourself, then you're going to do all nonsense. Give it to me. So Krishna is the best father. It's the best father. So And the more we give to Krishna, the more we get purified. So Krishna's looking at what we give, and also he's looking at what we keep. Sometimes we're also keeping. It's like someone might go to the temple here and give $5,000 donation, and we might think, wow, so nice, such a nice gentleman. But Krishna, he sees the millions of dollars that he has in the bank that he's keeping. So we're thinking, oh, such a nice, generous man. Because no, he's not. He's keeping so much for himself, giving a few cents. $5,000, a few cents for a multimillionaire. So Krishna, he sees everything. So we got to give everything to Krishna. And therefore he says, Sarvadhamam Prityaja Mamekam Saranam Bhaja Aham Tvam Sarvapapidyo Mokshishaya Matsa. Abandon all varieties of rhythm, just surrender. Offer you all sins for action, do not fear. So the more we surrender to Krishna, the more Krishna gives himself to us. And the best example that we've seen is of Srila Prabhu. He gave everything, gave himself for us, to please Krishna. And there's one commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, when he gets to this verse, he says Krishna is asking for too much. That's his commentary. That's what you're asking. Krishna is asking for too much. The rascal doesn't know that if we give ourselves, if we surrender to Krishna, Krishna gives himself. And I was just reading, Prabhupada said that Krishna, he surrenders to his devotee. We surrender to Krishna, and Krishna surrenders to his devotee. And what's the example? Krishna surrendering to his devotee. Mother Yasoda. Mother Yasoda. Yeah, she wanted to bind him. And he's God. I'll let you bind me. And she couldn't bind him until he saw that she's so sincerely trying to do her duty that he surrendered. All right, you can bind me. Love, bound with love. This is the only way that Krishna can be bound, by love. And that's what this whole process, everything that we're doing is to bring out this love. It's actually already there, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, but it's very covered. So we're trying to uncover this love for Krishna. And when we actually achieve that love for Krishna, oh, we'll be so happy. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated the greatest obstacle to our advancement in Krishna consciousness is thinking that there's something better than devotional service. This is the greatest obstacle. We think there's still something here, some doubt, some happiness here. And we don't have a full taste for Krishna consciousness yet, so it's kind of in between. But we have to have that faith that this is the highest pleasure. This devotional service is the highest pleasure that the soul can experience. And what's nice is that this pleasure, there's no limit. It's ever increasing. It's ever increasing. In material world, you get some pleasure, and it comes to a certain point that that's why there's so much divorce and so many people, they quit their job, go to another job. Because eventually things just dry up in the material world. But in devotional service, there's no limit. And there's even no limit to the types of service we can do. I'll give you an amazing example of this. There was one poor Brahmana who was going through a village, and there was some Srimad Bhagavatam discourse taking place. They're out there in the morning, the sun's rising. There's devotees listening to this Bhagavad discourse, and he thought, oh, let me hear some let me hear some nectar from this devotee. So he's sitting and he's listening. And he says that one can serve Krishna by manaseva, service in the mind. And he had never heard that. Wow, we can serve Krishna in our mind. So he was poor Brahmana, but he always wanted to do elaborate deity service. So he went to the bank of the Ganges, and he started doing deity worship in his mind, and it was very elaborate. You know, he had golden utensils and making very nice offerings to the deities, and he would do deity worship, and even it's described that he would clean the temple. So he had a whole temple in his mind. There's a whole temple in his mind. He would clean the temple room floor and bathe the deities and dress the deities and offer arti to the deities and cook for just do it for years. Amazing that. When I read that, I remember reading this pastime, but then Prabhupada said he did this for years. And he was getting such nice feelings from this. And eventually he was doing this service, and he was making some sweet rice. And sweet rice should be cool. So he took this so seriously. He put his finger to see if it's cool enough. I mean, he's really into it. And he burned his finger. Wow, this is really getting serious here. It was red. Burned his finger. And if I quote the Lord Vishnu, he started smiling. And Lakshmi Devi sees this big smile on his face. My Lord, why? What are you smiling for? I said, I'll tell you. So then he sent a Vaikuntha plane to pick up this devotee and took him back home, first class seat. Took him back home. And then he told Lakshmi about this devotee. Went back home. So Krishna is very pleased by devotion. This is what attracts Krishna. Bhaktya mam vijanati yavanyashchami tomam tatatoya vishati. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of Him through such devotion, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So this is what we're praying for in everything that we're doing. Devotion. And Krishna, He'll help us. I was on book distribution a couple of days ago. There were some people walking behind me. And they said, there's a bookstore around here somewhere. I said, here's the bookstore. They came around. I said, what do you mean? They saw all the books. I showed them the books and they got the books. So I was praying, Krishna, please send some nice people to receive your books. The book distribution is all about prayer. A lot of praying. And yesterday I was on book distribution for just a couple hours because I wanted to come to Vaishesh's class. I was thinking, only 2 hours here. But Krishna is amazing. Krishna sent so many nice people, just one after another, taking Prabhupada's books, giving nice donations. And I was just so appreciative how Krishna he reciprocates. And you really feel that on book distribution, isn't it? That's a nice thing about book distribution. You really experience this reciprocation. Like I was in, where was I? I was I was just in Africa recently. I was in Botswana, Africa. And I was explaining this I was giving a talk on book distribution, how Krishna, he reciprocates. And one lady, the wife of the president there, He said, "Oh yeah, I was out on book distribution. They go out on book distribution in Botswana." And it's a small country, not very many people. She said, for like 3 hours, no one was taking the book. And then I just started praying, so Krishna, please. And then she said 5 minutes later, a person came up and took all the books I had. And she said, I was just so happy. Krishna reciprocated. She was praying very fervently. And then Krishna sent. So we get to have this direct exchange, reciprocation with Krishna by going on book distribution. It's a very fulfilling, satisfying experience. So is there any question or comment or reflection? Yes.
So, you mentioned that Krishna surrenders to the devotee. But recently I read in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya says that he is not independent. He is simply doing what his associates want to do. I don't know.
Krishna is not independent.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya said, I'm not independent because Jagadananda, he wants me to engage in sense gratification. And I do it because I'm afraid of him. And then he was talking about other devotees, how actually he said, I'm sold out. I cannot do anything independently. But then right after that, he left.
Well, before that also, he was getting permission. He kept on getting, and they wouldn't let him go on that southern tour.
Yeah.
For like, how many, like 2 or 3 years. He couldn't go because he didn't get permission.
No, that was from Vrindavan. He was able to go to South India pretty quickly.
Oh, that was
It was
Vrindavan.
Vrindavan. He left Jagannath Puri pretty instantaneously, but going to Vrindavan
Took some time. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Again, sis.
So I understand it's inconceivable, but shouldn't just Lord Chaitanya stay, but his devotees ask him if he's kind of not independent?
I didn't catch that.
I mean, if he says that he's not independent, it looks like he doesn't stick to that.
Oh, yeah.
Or Krishna in general.
Well, he is independent.
Yeah.
He'll say like that. In some circumstances,
Yeah.
This is the pastimes of Krishna. Ultimately, he's Svara.
Yeah, like even Yashoda. I mean, obviously he was totally dependent, Yashoda. But later on he left.
Oh yeah, causing great pain. It's very painful yourself, first thing. Yeah, very painful. So yeah, he has that pastime where he's dependent and also independent. But we're always dependent. That's the difference between us and Krishna. Sometimes they'll play the pastime like he's dependent, but he doesn't. Because of the love of the devotee, it'll appear like he's completely dependent. That's nice about the spiritual. It's all about love. Here it's practically all about lust. As Prabhupada said, the whole world is going around on lust. The spiritual is all going around on love. So we're trying to catch that love. That Krishna's brought and Prabhupada has brought. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I really like the point, when you said Krishna also looks at, how much we keep versus, how much we give. Yesterday there was a fundraiser, Paisajika Maharaj also keeps saying that, it's better, you give it on your own, than, Krishna takes it from us, So that also, thank you for reiterating that. I also like so many examples you gave, Prabhu, like, for example, that sweet rice, the Mataji used to put her hand, just to check whether it is hot or not. So that also indicates that how much love we have for the Lord.
Yeah.
And you emphasize so much on prayers, book distribution is. I never used to think I understand the reciprocation part, but book distribution is all about prayers.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
Like when you spoke about how in Kali Yuga the only like pillar of religion that's left is truthfulness. Is that talking about like does that mean that people are like in general truthful with each other like on a mundane level, or does that mean that like devotees are still here, speaking about the absolute truth?
Well, both. I mean, I see sometimes I'm on book distribution and someone will leave a wallet or something on the seat, and the next person next to them, oh, you left your wallet. Or sometimes you hear about people finding a wallet and sending it back to the address is there, the money's still in there. You've may have heard of things like this, sending it back to. So there's still some, but yeah, the main truthfulness is that there's devotees that are giving the truth, and that's the main thing. But there is still some honesty in people, but it's being depleted very quickly as Kali Yuga moves on. But yeah, the devotees are the ones. Most ones, yes.
Word that's used in this verse is Jata Shatru.
Ajata, Satru.
Yeah, never enemy is never born. So it looks like doesn't mean that Maharaj Yudhishthira doesn't have any enemies. He has enemies.
Yeah, there's enemies towards him, but he doesn't have.
He doesn't perceive.
Right.
So it seems that our perception of the world very much affects. Basically, our perception of the world very much affects how absorbed we are in the duality of this world. Highly affects our consciousness. So how do we come to the point where, even though we may have enemies, even though we may have circumstances which seem to be going against us, we don't consider it to be our enemy? You understand that question?
Yeah.
How do we cultivate this quality of Ajata Satru?
Yeah. China Dvaitya Tatmana. Now, when it's free of the dualities that arise from doubt, if we have faith in Krishna, then whatever happens, we'll see it as Krishna's mercy. Even someone's our enemy, the Prabhu would say, well, he's acting as my enemy due to something I may have done to him. So it's coming back to me. Even Prabhupada, there was some person who was, actually this person had gone to a program with the devotees. He was part of the devotee party, Indian man, and he probably was given a talk to some, I think it was in Canada, it was outreach, there was people there from the city, and he stood up and said, why are you bringing this this foreign religion here to a Christian country? And the devotees were like, what? It was an antagonistic way he was asking. The devotees were so upset. And Prabhupada said, oh, he must have offended him. Some past life or something. Exactly like this. And before Prabhupada left the city, he told Gopal Krishna Maharaj, tell that gentleman to come, I'd like to see him. said, but Prabhupada, he was so offensive to you. No, I must have offended him. Prabhupada's written is amazing. So, yeah, we should see in that way. Yeah, to be free of dualities. It's such an attractive thing. Heat and cold, honor and dishonor, happiness and distress. To be free of this. And that's the spiritual world. There's no duality. Everything's good. So as we advance in Krishna consciousness, yeah, we'll see that everything is good. Someone's acting as my enemy. Yeah, maybe something that I've done in the past. And also another thing is as Jesus said, what is it? Hate the sin, not the sinner. Yeah. So they're acting under the modes of nature. They're completely in the modes of nature, people. And we're also, still under the modes of nature to some degree, as though we're, although we're kind of pulling out some. But people are under the modes of nature. Lust, anger, greed, so obviously they're going to act in unusual ways. So when you see it, like they say, is it hate the enemy, not the person? How's it go?
Hate the sin, not the sin.
Hate the sin, not the sin. So hate the modes of nature, not the person. There's a person that's transcendental, but they're covered. They're covered by the modes of nature. Try to see beyond the modes of nature, beyond the duality. Try to see. There's a soul there. There's a sincere soul there. Like sometimes I see the homeless people coming around, and I just think there's a sincere, there's pure soul there that used to be with Krishna, and now so covered. Try to see beyond the covering. Not easy sometimes. Anything? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Let's be there.
Yeah.